I've always believed that who we truly are is revealed in the moments no one notices, in the pauses, the quiet decisions, and the choices we make when nobody is watching. That night at my best friend's birthday party, I learned more than I ever wanted to about loyalty, respect, and the unspoken boundaries that should exist between friends. My name is Daniel. I'm 37 years old, and I've been married to Emily for 8 years. Emily has a natural way of every room she walks into. She doesn't try to be the center of attention. It's simply who she is. That was one of the first things I fell in love with, and I still love it today. What I didn't realize was how quickly innocent admiration from others could become something entirely different, something that crossed the line. The party was at Jason's house. Jason and I had been close for years. We played on the same college football team, lived in the same dorm, and stood beside each other as best men at our weddings. He was the kind of friend you never thought twice about trusting. So when he invited us over, I didn't hesitate. We arrived expecting nothing more than laughter, familiar stories, too much food, and music that felt just a little too loud for people our age. At first, everything was exactly as I expected, but as the evening unfolded, I began noticing little things, small details, the kind you don't want to acknowledge because admitting them means something isn't right. Jason kept finding reasons to be near Emily. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't innocent. His eyes lingered too long. His laughter came a little too close. His hand brushed against her arm in ways that clearly weren't accidental. Once could have been nothing. Twice, maybe. But after the third time, it became impossible to ignore. I kept telling myself I was imagining it. I didn't want to become the jealous husband. I didn't want to be the man who created a problem where there wasn't one. But then I watched him lean close and whisper something into Emily's ear. She looked away and the smile on her face faded into visible discomfort. That was the moment something tightened inside my chest. I stepped away for a minute, walked into the kitchen, and poured myself a drink I didn't even want. I wasn't angry yet, I was thinking. Anger is like fire. If you don't control it, it burns everyone around you, including yourself. When I returned, Jason was showing Emily old photos on his phone. Pictures from before she and I were married, photos from nights I barely remembered. Then he smiled and said, Danny used to chase every girl in college, but none of them were as beautiful as you. It sounded like a compliment, but there was something sharper underneath it, something he wanted me to hear. Emily took a small step back, clearly uncomfortable. He either didn't notice or simply didn't care. I stood there for a few seconds, just long enough to decide the kind of man I wanted to be. I walked over with a calmness I didn't completely feel. Jason greeted me with the same loud grin he always wore when he wasn't thinking about consequences. I smiled back, not because I shared his mood, but because I wanted to keep control. Then I turned to Emily and quietly said, Could you grab my jacket from the living room? She nodded without asking questions and walked away. She didn't seem confused. She could tell something had changed. When we were alone, I spoke softly. Jason, I said, you're one of the people I've trusted most. I've welcomed you into my home, my life, and my family. So when I see you flirting with my wife, argument could have. During the drive home, Emily finally spoke. I didn't know what to do, she whispered. I didn't want to make things worse. I glanced at her and said, You didn't have to do anything. I saw it all. She looked at me with relief, not guilt or fear. She knew I had chosen respect over rage. The following morning, Jason sent me a text. I'm sorry, I crossed the line. I never replied. Not because I wanted revenge, but because some apologies are meant to acknowledge a mistake, not restart a conversation. About a week later, Claire called Emily. That night became a turning point in their marriage, forcing them to confront problems they had been avoiding for years. We never became enemies. We simply drifted apart. Life created the distance on its own. Emily and I, however, became stronger because of it. We talked openly. We set quiet but firm boundaries. We started spending our weekends differently, investing more time in each other and less time trying to impress anyone else. We built more moments that belonged only to us. Looking back now, I know I could have exploded that night. I could have shouted, humiliated Jason, or made a scene in front of everyone, but I didn't. Because real strength isn't measured by how loud your voice becomes. Sometimes it's measured by how steady you remain, how well you control yourself, and how confidently you choose to walk away while never forgetting exactly who you are. Right in front of everyone, I don't feel angry. I pause before finishing. I feel disappointed. His smile disappeared. For the first time all evening, his confidence slipped. He gave a nervous laugh and shrugged. Come on, man. It was just a joke. Just harmless fun. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't step toward him. I didn't create a scene. I simply looked him in the eye and said, flirting with another man's wife doesn't make you confident, it makes you small. Then I gently took the drink from his hand, placed it on the counter, and added, you don't need another drink. You need to take a hard look at yourself. The room didn't suddenly go silent, but something shifted. The atmosphere changed. His wife, Claire, turned at just the right moment and heard enough to understand what had happened. Emily came back carrying my jacket. I thanked her quietly before saying, let's go. We walked out without slamming a door or exchanging another word. No shouting, no drama, just a quiet exit that carried more weight than any